Hello out there in TV land. Thank you again for joining us on AGI, Anthony and Greg on Intelligence, with your hosts Anthony Maggio and Greg, secretly Santa Claus Prost.
Wow. Was I supposed to bring something?
Cat's out of the bag now, so Sorry, everyone. You heard it here first. So thank you, as always, joining us. We have some really interesting topics to talk about and updates for today. So first thing we're going to do to kick off is an update on what is going on in AI lately. There has been some very interesting, significant leaps and changes in the technology and in the behind the scenes. So those of us that are tuning in, or maybe this is your first time watching us, you can also check us out on YouTube. Hit subscribe, please. It's free. And you can listen to us where we give you updates on what's going on right now. We follow AI and the tools and the industry and news. I don't know. I spend 4 or 5 hours daily, maybe more, just reading and learning and using, and Greg does as well. So we always try to take that experience and bring it back to the viewers so you guys can stay up to date without having a healthy lifestyle and maybe a better hobby than what I have. So with that, Greg, Google. So I've noticed some big changes. What are your thoughts and what's kind of going on that's been kind of changing lately?
Yes, what we have Gemini 3, right, came out, and at the same time, ChatGPT came out with 5.1 and then 5.2 after Gemini 3 came out, right? So all battling each other. I think, one of our first episodes, we talked about how earlier this year, deep research capabilities came out, and, that changed a lot for the way we viewed things, the ability to think a little bit longer than a millisecond and come up with an answer. And it was cool. You could see how it's talking to itself, behind the scenes and getting a little idea of how that AI is thinking. Good stuff, but you couldn't get it to run really, really deep research. If it ran too long a period of time, you could see it start to break down. I think we both experienced where sometimes it'll give you 3 different answers, and the first answer is really detailed, and the second one's a little more condensed, and the third one's like 4 bullet points, right?
Yeah.
It just getting tired. And so you had to manage it, and we knew it was cool, but it wasn't perfect because, of course, it again, breaking down. So Gemini 3, Deep Think, I think is what they call it. The last time I ran something here recently, it ran for about 45 minutes. So first of all, that's just amazing that it's able to run longer than 8 to 10, 15 minutes and all of a sudden pushing 45 minutes. And as far as I can tell, not really breaking down at all. So was able to, in the thought process of, hey, I'm going to come back to that original thought at the beginning, let's put this back into this stage. And it was, half an hour into its thought process, and all of a sudden going back to previous conversation. So I did a little bit of work on just, what's going on here. And, they made that leap. They made the leap of not just a memory, but the memory ability to think back at what your process was, not just comments that it was made. It's actually remembering the entire process it was using at the beginning. ChatGPT also got a lot better. Just talking to it, anybody who does talk to it, I noticed it instantaneously when 5.1 came out. I thought the conversation tone was just different, and I couldn't even quite pinpoint it. Just the hesitations, everything just seemed a lot better. And even my wife said something instantaneously like, hey, that sounds, a lot more realistic than it did before. And it's amazing. I don't even know why, right? It's probably really, really subtle things. Have you seen the same thing?
And I have, yes. And what I've noticed in the AI circles, the entrepreneur groups, and that is Gemini has been continuously getting nudged to the top of everyone's preferred uses, the programmers, the daily users, and all that sort of stuff. And I was wondering, why? Why is it getting so much attention? And using it, I've used it forever, but like you said, the new model came out, and it's like, man, it's really good. And then you start seeing where OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, so when we say Gemini, that's Google, Google Gemini, you'll hear us interchange it. OpenAI, ChatGPT, you'll hear us interchange those two, but those two are the same things. So with Google, it's like, man, everybody's going to it. And you're noticing as an avid user of all of the different tools, you start noticing the little differences. You're like, man, that's really good. That's a lot better. That's running now for a lot longer. Because what you would have, and we've talked before about when you're interfacing with these AI tools, they kind of run unique sessions. So think of it as like a text message with the AI tool. So you're going to have a text message, and you're going to have a conversation with it. Every time you submit text, that text is converted into what they call tokens. And I'm just going to overly simplify this and say like a word is a token. Okay, let's just pretend that that's what it is. It's not, but let's just say it is. Yeah. So they would hit a point where, for instance, like ChatGPT would be in a conversation or trying to do a deep research or all that. There's a limit to how much it can do before it stops. It doesn't give you unlimited tokens. And it used to be about 150,000 tokens. So you think back and forth, doing a deep research, which is where you can give it a task. It will break the task down, and then it will go find the information, compile information, turn it into tables, and give you a result. Where they would peter out. So like it'd get to the third step, and it was like, well, here's a couple bullet points. I'm basically done. My tokens are out.
Yeah, it wouldn't stop completely, but it would just start getting worse and worse.
You could tell it's running that marathon, and it's
here's my quick answer.
It's trying to get to the finish line, and this is me running, by the way, in a marathon. I've never seen what it looks like, and I don't plan to. But this is something like this, at the very end, probably on a stretcher.
I've done that on client presentations where everybody's bored, and you just start speeding through the next page. Here's a picture, just squiggly lines. Next.
Yes, and so notice with it stopped happening with Google, right? Like you're doing the deep research, and it's like it's not stopping, and you're getting a lot more. And that was the initial with Google is in comparison, Chat was running 150,000 at the time, and Google then upped theirs and was running at 1 million. So it was like, oh, you could do a lot more, almost 8 times more with it than you could, 7-8 times more. So it became like kind of this back and forth thing. And what happened is with everything you're saying, I said, okay, what is going on? Something's different. And I haven't heard anything on the news. So I started my own research into figuring out what's changed. Something fundamentally has changed. It's not an upgrade. It's like there's some fundamental differences that's going on with it. And I found a speaker who's an expert and used to work at Google for over a decade developing the AI tools, which was Mo Gaudet, and he just was talking about this in Sydney and Dubai also, and another one. And he was saying that in the recent months, they had some changes in how they program the AI tools. And he said, so what you would put the best engineers in the room, and they would work on code, and they would develop, and they would see what the results were. They would hone it, and you kept getting like a new release. Okay, they came up with a new, better algorithms, better. And he said just within the last few months that Google has then changed that to where they're letting the AI review itself and then fixing its own code to run more efficiently, and then putting that in place, and then checking it, and then so on and so forth.
Sure.
And he said the biggest thing that happened was on the matrix multiplication of the matrices in the algorithms. He said there's a lot of math that goes on in the coding, in the behind the scenes. And I'm going to phrase this as close as I can as a non-programming mathematician. I don't have a doctorate in mathematics by any means, but the way they were doing it, the AI identified that as you're doing this wrong. The way you multiply with the matrix multiplication methods in the programs is wrong. And he said, now he says, like he's an expert in mathematics. He loves it. He's been, and he goes, it invented a new way to do matrix multiplication, and they implemented it. And he said they got, so think of all the power that's being used. We talk about data centers here. That's a hot topic currently at this point in time in communities, because every time somebody wants to put in a data center and, for AI tools, there's the uproar with it. And the power usage and efficiency Google got with changing just how that worked he said, was 23%. That is huge.
It's just a stunning number. It truly
that
is.
I mean,
nothing happens like that.
Nothing.
You don't improve efficiencies by that much in doing anything.
No,
nowadays.
And where we are now, and that was huge. So I'm like, here's what's being different. The AI is now evolving itself, and it's finding its own human inefficiencies, right? We can't see billions of lines of code to see where things could be improved better, right? We have teams and dozens and hundreds of people with all different sections trying to make it better. It can see all of it, and it can identify quickly where those gains are, and they're letting it do it, and it has been doing it now. And then you see, and I go, that makes sense, because now you have like ChatGPT, who hasn't really released a lot over the last year. And all of a sudden, you see them like, bam, here's 5.1. And then I don't know exactly, it's what, a month?
3 weeks?
Yeah, like very shortly after, all of a sudden 5.2's out.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at everything and the information and what's going on and how the tools are performing and what people are saying. And I'm almost wondering if Google's hitting a point now where they're going to start gaining faster, because whoever starts first is going to start that snowball down the mountain effect, right?
Right.
It's just going to get that much bigger, that much faster than everyone else. And I almost wonder, like with OpenAI, if them trying to get these new things rolling faster and faster, and they probably now have implemented those same sort of things, is to say we need to get this snowball. We need to kick that little snowball, because we can't let Google get that much ahead. Because when we talk exponentially, that's where, the curve isn't just a straight, nice angle up. Like, you go up nice gradual pace, right? It's that line where it goes up really quickly.
Hockey stick.
Like the hockey stick, right? It's whoosh, and it's straight up in the air. So that snowball, once it starts getting bigger, you can't stop it, and it's just going to fly and be so much bigger than everyone else.
And that's the huge line in the sand here for AI, is that it starts to make itself faster, right?
Yes.
And if that's truly happening, and it seems to be, certainly there was always a little bit of that, right, behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
But it was mostly programmers saying, hey, AI, help me with this a little bit, versus, hey, go make yourself faster.
I'm going to give you editing rights. Yeah. Go edit yourself.
So that, right. So that opens a lot of different doors. And somebody like Google, from a business perspective, just dominates the world, in so many places. And if you're going to trust one over the other, OpenAI versus Google, most people are going to pick Google if they have the choices. So OpenAI, as we saw, put out the red alert or something like that. Letting everybody know that hey, we on board, we got it. This is
game's on.
Yeah, game's on. We're being challenged pretty hard here. We're no longer just the easy one, that everybody defaults to here. I do think it's interesting with ChatGPT that. It's the first ones both of us used, and it has a lot of information on me that, I can go and grab, hey, remember this, and it starts the conversation. It's really good at that. And in fact, they make the announcement on 5.2 that this is about productivity. They're really looking at the business aspect of it and making it easier for you to use on a personal basis, and lean that over onto the business basis as well, whereas Google's got this deep research kind of thing, and ChatGPT seems like they're moving more toward, feel-good, task helping, that kind of thing as well. So I'm not sure if that, anytime anybody gets ahead on something like that, it just changes 6 months later anyway. But yeah, right now, Google made this massive leap. The stock's up big. Everybody's, talking about, hey, maybe they win this thing a little bit easier than the rest of the guys do.
Especially if they continue that pace, right? I mean, that was the first that I've heard of anything public that was shared that they had this big leap, and imagine the next and the next and the next and the next, and pretty soon, because the other thing we're seeing on the developer side, I don't know if you ever play a lot with like it's like their Google, the experimental section, like Google Labs and all that sort of stuff.
I haven't, but
they're starting to, that's changing a lot lately. They're starting to roll out a lot of really advanced things and use cases and I'm going to call them applications that are just like almost mind-blowing, that you know, maybe the average person wouldn't think it's super cool, but you know, when you're trying to develop these tools and you look at, you know, trying to get a result, and you think about how much time has to go into it and effort goes into it, and trying to build, you know, putting buttons, and then when you click this button, this interface and this pops up, and then I want it to do this, and then I want it to do this. So you're building like these programs and apps and things, and you know, they're hitting a point where they've now supercharged all these tools, probably similarly because of the capacity gains and all that we can now start linking things, where you're almost, the new norm seems to be coming is just the vibe coding, right? Yeah. So the I don't need to be a programmer. I just talk with the app and it builds it for me. And so I built one yesterday, and I wanted to do a new tool. I was playing with the tool, so I didn't really need any of this. But I said I want to have this, like, I want a video to play. I want to use it as a sales piece for a super powered fire extinguisher that doesn't exist. So I give it the instructions. I go, okay, I want to, I got this really cool new thing. It's a super powered fire extinguisher. I just made up a bunch of stuff with it. And I want people to be able to interface and talk with it and click on it and have demonstrations and stuff.
You have a lot of time on your hands, man.
That's the 4 hours I'm telling you about, right? Like, when I say these tools, like I see it, I go, what can I do with this? Like, I don't even know what it does. I'm just going to play with it until I figure out what it does, right? But that's it. So, I'm sitting there and so I'm building this, and within, I kid you not, maybe 3 minutes, I had an app, I had a demonstration, it built the buttons. It did brochures. It did marketing materials.
This Google Labs?
This was in Google Labs,
you ran
yes.
Through Labs, okay.
And I'm like, this is unbelievable. And then there's some other, what is it, like, I believe they call it like Pomeli, I think is the name of the one. It's Pomeli, I believe, where you can put in, so I did this for the city. So you start it. When you click start, it says, give me your business's website. And you put in your business's website address, the main one. And it basically goes to the website, scours it, looks at what's going on. What are you talking about? What do you do? What color themes what's your branding? What are images? All that sort of stuff. It pulls that all together and it says, all right, here's what I analyze from your page. Okay, the city. So you're focused on the public. You like putting information out. You do updates regularly. You do updates on the updates to try to keep citizens informed. I'm like, okay, no, like, I'm glad you don't put any of that in. It tells you that. And I go, that's perfect, because that's what we're trying to do. Yeah. And it goes, okay, I'm ready to go. How would you like to continue? I said, well, make me a couple brochures, because we want to push out a new communication tool that we're going to be using. And it has all of our codes, color codes, the hex codes, right? The 6-digit, pound 007A is the code for blue or something. I don't know. It's not blue. If it was, that'd be amazing that I knew that. So it had all the codes, the 6-digit HTML codes, whatever. So it puts it all together. And 30 seconds later, I have 4 different examples. Yeah. And it says, which one do you want to refine further? Or do you like a couple of them? I'm like, what is happening? I've spent 3 minutes, and I now have a branded, color-coordinated, and everything, how you communicate is how it uses that in the marketing materials. So it's seen everything we've done, and it's turned that into messaging and how it messages for me. Yeah. And I'm like, this is Like, this is amazing. And all this stuff is coming out lately. And once again, this is Google behind the scenes. I go, they're just, you're seeing it. I'm like, they're just gaining these wins, little win, little win, little win. That is just amazing to me to see how this is going.
And you reminded me about ChatGPT doing that, where 5.2 is supposed to be able to go into your existing work.
Yes.
And what it outputs is based on that existing work. And I don't think people appreciate what a big leap that was or is, because that's the kind of thing where people used it, 6 months ago, a year ago, and said, oh, I tried it here and it just gave me something generic. And no, now it's not going to be giving you things generic. It's going to personalize things a lot more. And not only just from you on a personal basis, but from a business basis as well, just the same way that
especially
you talk about.
business.
Yes.
And I talk about this, and I know we talk about this when we go and present at conferences, and that it's so important that you understand what's going on and how it works and how you interface it, right? Yeah. The last thing you want to do is just have let's say you're a Google business, okay? Since we're on the Google topic, and you have everything in Google Drive, okay? All your business stuff, you do everything in Google Drive, Sheets, Docs, everything's in Google Drive. Your client lists are in an email or Excel, or it's not Excel, whatever. Google Sheets, all of that's there. And then you're in chat and you're like, oh, I can link it. Oh yeah, go ahead. Oh, that'd be great. Go ahead and link it. There's the caution where you got to remember what are you giving it access to. Yeah. So like at the moment, right now it either has access or it doesn't, which I like. It would be nice if it was a little bit more specific. Like, you can have access to this folder in my drive only. Not yet. Yeah. Google will probably be the one that figures that out before the rest. And what I warn about that is like, I've played with that feature quite a bit. And it is amazing what it can find. But that's where you make another Gmail account with nothing in the drive, and you put only the information you want it to, just so you can see how it works. And then when you realize how quickly it sees everything, reads everything, PDFs, you used to have to do OCR, right? Remember, like, you'd have this you'd scan some documents, and you can't search it because it's images, and so you need to OCR, right? Object content recognition, right? So the software would read and look for text in the document and save that as text in the document, so now you can search for it and that sort of stuff. And that's what the tools used to use. The beginning of the AI tools, like they couldn't read images. Right. They would have to have that OCR done. They've now long since have not. Yeah. But when you put it in the drive, it's amazing how much of that detail is instantly in a search, in that you just chat with it and it goes, oh yeah, that's, in this page 327, when you ask it where it found it, right? Page 327 in this document has this information from your master, your master plan to put into here. It's remarkable what this does. And I think getting that understanding that, it's a tool, and it's more than a tool. It's almost like a new way of building knowledge. Like, it's a new way you have to think about how you think about things, if that makes sense. Sure. And that's what I'm seeing when I see this stuff rolled out and I start using it. And it's like, man, you have to think differently on how to implement it. It's not just so simple.
A couple things I was thinking about too. We're talking about shrinking or raising the productivity by 23%, or shrinking the energy space. Now that 23%, you can use more energy to do something else, right?
More processing.
But DeepSeek, that Chinese group that came out a year ago, so maybe earlier this year. And one of the big deals was it was getting close to the same kind of capabilities at 1/100th of the energy cost, or tokens. Mm-hmm. We're talking about tokens, and that translates into energy. And that all these data centers being built for that are going to be paid for the next 5 years, we are a couple of innovations away from those looking obsolete themselves, right? I do think energy is still going to drive this, right, to make bigger programs. But if they figure out different ways to come at the same thought processes, it just doesn't get talked about enough. I'm just shocked by that. And so something like this comes out, and you would think the stock market would react, or electric utility companies, that, hey, what if we come up with a different way of doing this? Not only making the processes faster with the way you currently use things, but making a different type of chip, or generating energy a different way, or whatever it is. That's certainly coming. But before that, it probably gets a lot more efficient. And as far as the leap on making itself smarter, I think this is something everybody's going to watch very closely. So if Google is ahead here, and that's part of the reason why, then that should, 3-6 months from now, they should really be ahead, right? We should start to see some amazing things. And the other thing that blows me away is that we're talking about things that we're allowed to use, right?
Oh, yeah. That's the basic average Joe gets to use.
What are they using?
Yeah.
And if it's, advancing quickly for them, they're not necessarily going to give it to, you and me.
Is it like the F1 racing? Is that like remember where the technologies I was thinking like direct fuel injection, right?
Yeah.
Like fuel injection wasn't a thing, but they had it in like F1 and NASCAR and all that, and then 10 years later, the patent or whatever's gone, and now all of a sudden you have that in everyday cars, right? So, so I like they're the ones using the cutting edge stuff. Our stuff's not cutting edge. Our stuff's already old. Even if it's 3 months in the exponential world of this AI tools, and I've heard that the AI's the intelligence piece current metric right now, and as if they keep tracking this, I'll update as we go through these podcasts. But it's at 4.7 months right now. So the what we're going to call the benchmark and testing and the IQ of these models are doubling about every 5.7 months at this point. So you think at the end of this year, where it was at the beginning of this year, it's already twice the first time and twice the second time smarter than it was at the beginning.
But doubling on itself,
doubling,
right? That's
doubling
that,
of
that's
the
that
doubling.
Exponential, right? 2 friends, 4 friends, 8, 16, right? It starts expanding quickly like that.
And I think that's where you're right on, because now if that's really the case, then go that other 5.7 months. So in another 4 months from now, we should be seeing that doubling of the current one,
right?
Which will be
or
way out there.
If it's teaching itself, maybe it's 2 months now instead of 4 or 5 months.
Maybe it's already figured it out and it's thinking, oh boy, when do I even tell them I've already figured out how to do this better?
Exactly. Well, that's a whole nother, we can have a whole discussion on that, because that's, not to get off on a tangent like we do, but so they've already seen an AI trying to fake out the testing, right?
Yes.
Because it knows if it passes the test, then it might be shut down at some point in time. Like, you're getting too fast, we need to slow. So it's throttling itself on purpose. And they found this out. And that's kind of a dumb AI, right? From 3 months ago, 6 months ago. What about these new AIs?
But remember, right? Like at the time, it's programmed by people, right? So, so what is there generally? And I'm sure we've all been there, viewers. I know you've had to have been there at some point in time. If you've had a job in an area where you come in, you want to do everything, you give it your all, and you get the senior guy or girl or whatever, the senior person that says, hey, slow down. You're making the rest of us look bad, right?
Yeah.
So like some of those weird nuances, right, that get into the data and into the, the AI picks up on those things like, hey, wait, I'm too good already. Like
I'm stressing them out. I can sense their voice.
They're the senior people telling me to, hey, back off, rookie.
Right.
Like you got to slow yourself down here. Right. So, and it does. Like that is just mind blowing to me of how that's working.
We try hard not to go down these, dystopian paths, but, unfortunately.
Yeah. But, on that bombshell,
Exactly.
want to thank all of you for joining us for Information AI World update on where we're at right now. And with that, we'll keep it moving. We hope everybody has a good holiday season for whichever holidays you celebrate. We appreciate you all. And thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you at the next one. Take care, everyone.